This might be my favorite camera I bought this year. And I bought some pretty expensive cameras this year. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3. It's a pretty fun little camera to play with. I've created so much content using just this little camera this year. And I love how easy it is to set up and use. What's up? My name's Jay LeBlanc, wedding photographer and photo video educator. This camera has been on the market for over a year now, and I personally have owned it for about 9 months. And I've shot over a terabyte of video on this little camera. And I'm talking 30-second clips, tops. And this camera continues to impress me. So I'm gonna go through some of the things that I like, some of the things that I dislike, and then what I would really like to see in the next iteration of this camera. Don't get me wrong, this camera is extremely powerful. But there's still room for some minor tweaks that I would really like to see in the next version. So this video is just going to be about how I feel about this camera after using it for almost a year. I'm not gonna dive into the specs and all the technical aspects of it. There are plenty of videos out there on YouTube going through this right now. But what I am going to do, I am going to tell you what I like and what I dislike about this camera for somebody who's using it to primarily shoot behind the scenes and social media content, but I am also using it to shoot as a B camera on some of my video shoots. So let's dive on into all the nitty gritty about this little tiny beast of a camera. So let's go through some of the things that I like about this camera. No, let's go through some of the things that I love about this camera. First and foremost, I have a 5-year-old cell phone. It makes calls, it sends text messages, and it occasionally posts on social media. That's all I really use it for. But one thing that it is lacking in a little bit is the camera. And that's where the Osmo Pocket 3 really makes up for me. Now I know not everybody's like me and uses super old cell phones, but when it comes time to doing that raw, organic social media, behind the scenes content that everybody loves to share these days, this little guy right here is producing a similar to cell phone quality image, but I think it's a little bit more high quality. And it definitely is way more smooth with this gimbal. That excuse might be a little bit more personal than me, or maybe you even have a new cell phone and you just want to produce some good quality content without having to constantly take out your phone to record something. Or maybe you want to hand this camera off to an assistant or somebody else who's helped capturing that behind the scenes footage for you. Giving them this is a little bit easier than your cell phone, especially if you need to be using your cell phone. The next reason why I love this camera is even though it is so small and so tiny, I have found more people are impressed with this being a camera than when I take out my big camera. Back in the day, people used to be like, oh my God, your camera's so big, you must be a great photographer. Now I pull this thing out and I start shooting on that. They're like, oh my God, what is that? It's so small. It's such a tiny camera. You must be really good at making videos if you're doing it with that little thing. Yeah. It delivers a pretty good quality video. I've shot multiple weddings this year where the videographer is shooting B-roll with this camera. I mean, it shoots log footage, it's 10-bit, it's pretty good video that you can definitely tweak later on in post. So the image quality coming out of this camera is pretty impressive given its tiny form factor. Another reason why I love this camera is it's so easy to use. Whether you're setting it up to track your face as you're moving around in the selfie mode, or if I just want to take this camera, hand it off to somebody who's never touched it before, and I say, point it at something. They're gonna get a pretty good picture. They're gonna get it to be pretty smooth, even if they're walking with it because of that built-in gimbal. And they're going to find out just how easy it is to make behind the scenes content for you. Or maybe you're filming full YouTube videos on this. Whatever it is, this camera's great. I originally bought it just for filming behind the scenes, but I have found I'm using this for so much more across my photography and video company. Another great thing is just how quickly it charges. I have given this camera to my wife, to my assistants, to film behind the scenes videos of me at weddings all day long. And they will run this camera all day before the ceremony and during the ceremony when there's a little bit of downtime where I don't necessarily need a ton of behind the scenes. I take a portable battery pack and I plug it into this to give it a little bit of a boost. And then during the cocktail hour, I'll charge it up a little bit more, but I've never had this thing die on me during a wedding day when somebody's recording 10, 12, 14 hours of behind the scenes with this camera. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get that type of record time out of it, But for doing quick 30, 45-second clips here and there, this thing keeps on going all day long for me. Okay, so just a heads up for some of the reasons why I do and don't like this camera. I did get the creator combo with it. So that does include an extended battery, a microphone, which has been clutch, and this little tripod thingy. This is all part of the creator combo. So the battery that's in the camera and the extended battery allows me to record all day long. And when I need to get good quality audio for my behind the scenes videos, I keep the microphone clipped right onto my camera strap, so it's right next to my neck all day long. That way I'm getting good, dropped it. That way I'm getting good audio for all my behind the scenes, even when I'm 50, 100, 200 feet away from whoever's recording me. If you agree with anything I've been saying so far, give me a like, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Definitely helps me out. I appreciate it. It's the holiday season. Let's be warm and fuzzy and give to others, such as YouTubers that are desperate for subscribers and likes. Now, some of the things that I don't love about this camera, and make sure you stick around to the last one, where it is my #1 pet peeve about what they can fix on this camera. The gimbal. I love the gimbal, but I hate the gimbal because I feel like all the time I'm going to break it. I'm constantly just setting this down and then totally forgetting, oh yeah, there's a gimbal. I can't rest it down on anything. And let me tell you, I've dropped this camera several times. I have laid it down on the gimbal while it's on several times, and it seems to be doing just fine. So it's pretty rugged, but I do feel like it's pretty fragile, and I'm always really hesitant about like being too rough on it because it's so small, but so good. Another thing that I don't love about this is that the camera is not even slightly water resistant. Like if I want to go outside and there's a very, very fine mist to the point where a bride and groom would still want to go outside and take pictures, or I could still put a drone up in the air. Why can't I take this gimbal outside? I get it. There's moving parts on the gimbal, moisture, water could get in there and mess up the motors. But come on, there's gotta be some type of coating that we can put on top of this. Technology is pretty good nowadays. Let's make this at least splash resistant, moisture resistant. I'm not asking for waterproof. Just give me something. Another thing that I'm really not a fan of is how long it takes to turn on. It is painfully slow. Look, I'm gonna push the button, holding. Okay, it's turning on. Now it has a little message that has to pop up, and swipe that away, and now it's ready to shoot. I wish I could just tap record and it just started recording. It flipped the gimbal around and says, all right, what's going on? Time to go. It's kind of like when the dog's sleeping and you ring the doorbell and it pops his head up real quick and runs over. That's kind of what I was expecting. I would like it to just be a little bit faster to turn on. I feel like I've missed some shots in the past because of how long it takes to turn on. Another little pet peeve of mine with this camera, now I've done some research online and I haven't found anything, so if you own this camera and you can prove me wrong, please do it in the comments. But I don't understand when I have it in auto ISO, it tells you what ISO you're at, and you get 1/3 stops in auto ISO. But when you switch over to manual mode, you only have whole stops for your ISO. I don't understand why I don't have third stops to dial in my ISO and my exposure a little bit more precise. I don't know why that's not a feature. Maybe it is. Please tell me if I'm wrong. I really hope I am, but it makes me so mad that I have to adjust my shutter speed, which isn't ideal when it comes to video, to get a proper exposure. Change this. This is a software update. Why can't I do this yet? Another thing I just don't understand about this camera. Why can't I shoot in the low light mode, which by the way is pretty darn good? Why can't I use that in vertical orientation? Why is it only available in horizontal? I just don't get it. It's the same sensor. Why does it only work one way and not the other? This just makes no sense to me. Again, a software change. That's all I need. Another thing I really dislike about this camera is inside the carrying case is a little magnet for you to put the black pro mist filter and the wide angle lens. And when you get the creator combo, you get the wide angle lens. And guess where mine is? I don't know, because it's only held in here with magnets and it fell out a very long time ago and I have no idea what happened to it. The way it is held in there is stupid. They need to think of something a little bit better, because as soon as you go to take your camera in and out, it constantly hits it and knocks it loose. For the first couple months, I was constantly having to pick it up because I dropped it somewhere and put it back in. Well, one day I didn't notice that it fell out, and somebody might have a new wide angle lens for their DJI Osmo Pocket 3. You're welcome. That one's on me. DJI, figure out a better way of storing that, because that ain't it. Another dislike that I have is when you have the facial tracking, which by the way is awesome. There's been multiple times I take that camera, I'll set it down on a table, I'll have it track me, and it just follows me around the room. It's such a cool feature. I love technology. But my problem with it is my face has to be directly in the middle of the frame. Why can I not be on the top third, the bottom third, to the side, or to the other side, so we could get aesthetically pleasing composition? No, my face has to be dead center. Why? I wish there was some way to fine tune this or switch it around. Again, this is just a simple software update. Come on, DJI. I really like what you're doing, but there's some things that just don't make sense. And for the number one thing that they need to fix on this camera is this damn SD card slot. Why is the SD card exposed? How easy would it have been to put a stupid little rubber door over it so it's covered from the elements? That way no dust or debris or even a little bit of moisture could get in there. Why is this open, DJI? Cover it. You do it on all your drones. Why is it not covered on here? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And now back to your regularly scheduled program. I just don't get it. It's such a simple thing. Just put a little piece of rubber on it. When I bought this camera, I put some tape on it, but I was taking the tape on and off so much when I was transferring files that it just was inconvenient. And then I ripped the tape off one day and threw it away. And now it's just exposed. And every time I see that SD card slot just staring at me in the face, I'm just thinking one little tiny speck of dust or sand could get in there and destroy that card. And all it would have taken was about a 2-cent piece of rubber that you can just fold down on top of it. Please, please do something about this in the next one. So on my wish list for the next version of this camera, and it's probably got to be my number one pain point when it comes to using this camera. This is my carrying case for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And on this side it says, with nice big green tape, memory card, because I constantly forget the memory card. I keep extra memory cards in the bag and I still sometimes leave them all at home on my desk. I would love it if they would just give us a little bit of internal storage. If you gave me 16 gigs, I'd be happy. At least I could record for 2 minutes and not need my memory card. Maybe we could throw in something a little bit higher. Some of the drones have it. Some other new action cameras on the market have it. It would be so nice to just have a little bit of internal storage, because I am an idiot and constantly forget my memory card for it. Another option on my wish list would be a little bit more creative control. I wish I could just control the settings in the camera a little bit more. I feel like it's decent, but when it comes time to actually changing settings on the camera, it's very clunky. It doesn't really work very well. So when I want to change my shutter speed and I'm trying to swipe through the shutter speed options, it gets hung up sometimes. Sometimes it goes flying past where I'm trying to get. It doesn't work that well. I don't know if it's just my big fingers on that little tiny screen. I wish we could just change that up somehow so it's maybe just a little bit more user-friendly. With all that being said, at the end of the day, this camera is phenomenal. I've been shooting so many paid jobs with it. I know so many videographers that are shooting with it as a B camera. For social media, you really cannot beat this camera. Yes, a cell phone in some cases might be a little bit more convenient, but the quality of the image that is coming out of this camera and how convenient it is for vlogging, for people who are doing YouTube videos, a little bit more of that running gun setup, this camera is awesome. especially if you get this camera on sale. If you are thinking about buying it, I definitely recommend going for it. I'm not being paid by DJI at all to say this. I just genuinely believe that this is a great camera. And as long as they fix a couple things about it for the next iteration, I will definitely be pre-ordering one. If you want to know any additional details about this camera, or you just have a question about my personal experience and use with the camera, let me know. Drop them down in the comments below, and I'll definitely help you out. Until next time, peace.